would like to talk about how compassion is basically embedded in my life, and it is guided from my belief and my religion, to be specific, and how it's also mapped nicely with our culture, and to be honest, how this should be protected. Compassion should be protected and also to be promoted, especially by using the platform of education in order to preserve sustainability and also humanity in uh, forever. And to be honest, compassion is basically, in my understanding from my religion, is basically the highest quality of a person should be. It is rooted from belief, it's rooted from values, it's rooted from our efforts in getting very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Uh, in my religion, for example, belief alone is not enough in order to make you a good person. There are many believers, but they are not good. There are many believers, but they are basically live by harming others. They don't feel anything by harming others physically, emotionally, and psychologically, mentally, and everything. So in Islam, be kind to others is basically part and part one big part of becoming a good Muslim, and be exemplary to others is basically the thing that we consider to be as our charity, as our deed. When we do good things and others see and follow our example, and the good voices, the good vibes, the good behaviors examples are now permeated all over the world. People can see that Muslims are good and they are following our quality, then that's basically considered to be like a reward, that we can get reward from it. It is very important. That's what basically our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked us to do. When we do understand that the Quran said our Prophet, as basically the Prophet Muhammad is basically sent as a mercy to mankind. It's not just the mercy to the Muslims alone. So the Muslims must show some sort of merciness, some sort of compassion, and also the quality of behaviors, quality of livelihood, where others can understand, others can benchmark. That's, ideally speaking, that's basically what we are trying to understand about what we are trying to get from being compassion in our life. So compassion is not just like it's not just like showing that we are having good manners, showing that we have good behaviors, but also it signifies the total quality of a Muslim life. The word kindness is basically paired together with the word justice. So justice cannot be achieved without a person being try to be kind. So it is not just like, and this can be done if we do have very strong belief and very strong faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where we try to avoid ourselves from doing anything negative, and in order to protect our belief. We do understand that the Islamic law, for example, the whole understanding of Islamic law is basically guide human toward this. So belief as the first stage of becoming a Muslim, where we confess that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the God, is the only God, and also the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as his prophet, where we basically follow. That is the first decree, the first principle that we hold in order to be a Muslim. But it is not enough. So it must be followed by doing good behaviors, by showing kindness, by following the examples of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a mercy, as a person sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a mercy to the world. And doing this, continuously try to engage, try to the best of our ability in order to be as kind as possible, is basically the parts of being a compassion person. So uh, this for about hundred of years, when we follow the religion of Islam, when we learn about Islam, and not just Islam but other religion as well, we can see that the values of the universal values of humanity is not so much different about what Islam asks us to do. Compassion is not as, it's simple, but it's hard to achieve because it involves many parameters, it involves many elements around us. So a Muslim, for example, to be a good Muslim doesn't mean that if you think that one particular action is suitable in one context, but it is not suitable in another context. Compassion also means that person is able to be flexible by behaving uh, uh, as how that how persons in that different context able to accept him or her. So uh, this involve experiential learning, and also uh, involve exposure, where a Muslim, or not just a Muslim, everybody should get. So what we do understand from the whole discussion about compassion over here, maybe in general, yes, literally compassion means be good, be kind. In terms of Islamic understanding, you can be good and be kind. The fundamental of it, if you it is just like you do things as you are saying Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, and that is basically a good start in order to give you some sort of consciousness that you are doing everything is whatever that you are doing, Allah is saying you. And the third part is basically compassion, is basically also cannot be separated from life in general. It is not just between you and Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala and God, and but also between you and other human being and other people around you. And it is contextual, though it has certain elements, certain principles in Islam where it's basically fixed. But many things in Islam are flexible. Many things in Islam are basically contextual based. So all this, when a person able to define this very well, in order to behave, uh, 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 exemplary, then and become an exemplary personality to others. This is the real meaning of compassion, when we try to define it outside the context of worship alone. So maybe my last point is compassion cannot be just like shared without any basis. It Compassion, the understanding of compassion, being kind, is basically relate very close to education. So the whole objective of education is to produce a good human being, quality human being, not just for the purpose of uh, uh, labor, or just to create a labor force, but also to create another generation of human being that can carry the quality of humanity to be transferred to the next generation. So that's basically of what we do understand about education, and how education is basically connected very close to compassion. So if our education today unable to produce people with compassion, people with the right quality of kind, people who don't have any feelings of harming others, but can be compassion in one part of his life or her life, but can be rude, very rude, and also very cruel in another part of his or her life. So that is not the purpose of education. Education is should be designed in order to produce a person with compassion, the quality of compassion. Perhaps in our language, in my language, can call it sejahtera. Sejahtera means a person who is safe inside and outside, physically, mentally, psychologically, not just safe, being safe to him or herself, and also being safe to people who are living around him, but also to be safe to other people around the globe. So if education cannot produce a person like this, a person who is balanced in all aspects of life, and unable to be compassionate, that there must be something wrong with the system of education that we are having. So education is about producing people with compassion, producing a person with compassion, and compassion is broad. It is not just about a person and God, but also about a human being with God and also other fellow human beings. So it must be educated, it must be promoted, it must be transferred, the understandings to the next generation in order to preserve quality of humanity, in order to preserve sustainability, in order to make sure that we are living in the safe place, in an environment where everybody can live together and nobody left behind. And to be honest, perhaps I can say that let's celebrate universal values to protect humanities, that protect humanities. Compassion is basically the most important part of education. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.